The year is 1990-something. Outside, the northern English sky is a familiar, uninspiring grey. A persistent drizzle dampens the spirits of everyone except, it seems, the pigeons. But inside the Grand Palace arcade, it was a different world entirely. The air hung thick with the cloying sweetness of cheap candy floss and the faint metallic tang of hot electronics. It was a cacophony of digital chirps, laser blasts, and the frantic jangling of coins. You walked in, and the real world simply dissolved. It was a sanctuary for the young, the bored, and those with a pocket full of 10-pence pieces and a desperate need for escapism from the crushing reality of double maths. I was one of those youths. Drifting past the hypnotic allure of the fruit machines and the well-worn joysticks of Street Fighter II, I followed a new sound. It was deeper, more guttural than the others, a thunderous voice that boomed with theatrical menace. "Finish him!" it commanded. The sound cut through the digital din like a finely sharpened axe. It drew you in. A siren's call for anyone with a passing interest in gratuitous, pixelated violence. This was not the cheerful bleeping of Pac-Man. This was something else. Something darker, something important. Drawn by this auditory magnet, I found the source. A small crowd was gathered, their faces illuminated by the flickering screen of a single imposing cabinet. The machine itself was a work of art, a black monolith adorned with dragons and stark, angular text. The name was simple, yet it promised so much: Mortal Kombat. The screen showed not cartoonish sprites, but digitized actors. Real people, or as close to real as technology would allow, locked in a brutal ballet of kicks and punches. It felt less like a game and more like a forbidden broadcast from another, far more exciting dimension. A dimension where the stakes were impossibly high. The atmosphere around that machine was electric, a palpable field of tension and awe. No one spoke much, they just watched, mesmerized. Every thunderous uppercut, every guttural cry of pain was met with a collective, hushed gasp from the assembled congregation. It was a shared experience, a silent agreement that we were witnessing something groundbreaking. The air crackled with the raw energy of it all. This wasn't just another way to waste an afternoon and your pocket money. This felt like an event. A pivotal moment in the otherwise unremarkable timeline of a Tuesday afternoon in Doncaster. The characters on that screen were not your standard heroic archetypes. They were something else entirely. They were figures pulled from a fever dream, a bizarre cocktail of mythology, B-movie cinema, and pure, unfiltered imagination. They felt ancient and powerful, even in their chunky, digitized forms. There was no cheerful plumber here, no speedy blue hedgehog. Instead, there was a pantheon of strange and wonderful combatants, each with a backstory you could only guess at, piecing it together from the cryptic attract mode and the whispers of other, more experienced players who stood nearby. Two figures in particular seized the imagination. First, there was Raiden, a god, a literal god of thunder dressed in a simple straw hat. He moved with an unnerving, jerky grace, teleporting across the screen and letting out a bizarre, high-pitched yodel as he flew towards his opponent. He was absurd, yet undeniably cool. He wasn't just a character, he was a concept. The idea that a deity would descend from the heavens simply to participate in a brutal martial arts tournament was profoundly, brilliantly strange. He represented the game's mythical, almost religious undertones. He was the lore personified. Then there was Scorpion, the ninja, the yellow-clad specter with glowing, vacant eyes. He was the mystery, the embodiment of vengeance. His signature move was the stuff of playground legend. That spear erupting from his palm, followed by the gravelly, iconic command, "Get over here." It was more than an attack, it was a statement. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated power that you, a teenager with questionable fashion sense, could command for the low price of 20 pence. Scorpion wasn't just a fighter, he was a dark promise. He was the cool, silent anti-hero we all secretly wanted to be. These characters felt important. They weren't just collections of moves and stats, they had a presence, a weight that transcended the cathode ray tube. Johnny Cage was the arrogant film star, Sonya Blade, the tough-as-nails Special Forces agent, and Kano, the cybernetic thug. Each one was a distinct personality, a piece of a larger, unseen puzzle. You chose your fighter not just for their abilities, but for what they represented. You were choosing your avatar in this strange, violent world. It was a decision that carried a surprising amount of personal significance in the dimly lit theater of the arcade. Playing Mortal Kombat was a ritual, governed by a strict, unspoken set of rules. You didn't just walk up and play. First, you observed. You watched the current champions, studying their techniques, memorizing the complex dance of their fingers across the buttons and joystick. You learned the timing of an uppercut, the precise distance for a leg sweep. Then, when the time was right, you placed your coin on the machine's edge. This was the challenge, a silent declaration of intent. It was the modern equivalent of throwing down a gauntlet. Only the gauntlet was a 10-pence piece and you were wearing a terrible shell suit. My friends and I developed our own micro-rituals around the game. We had our designated fighters. I was a Raiden man, naturally. My friend Dave was a die-hard Scorpion loyalist. Our battles were epic, at least in our own minds. We would spend hours huddled together, trying to decipher the cryptic button combinations for the special moves. There was no internet to consult, no YouTube tutorials. Knowledge was passed down through word of mouth like ancient folklore. Down, forward, low punch, someone would whisper, and you'd spend the next 10 minutes trying to make your digital god shoot a bolt of lightning. Victory was a moment of pure, unadulterated triumph. Defeating your friend wasn't just about winning the game. It was about earning bragging rights that would last until the next session. The ultimate prize, of course, was pulling off a fatality. That first time you inputted the correct arcane sequence and watched your character perform their signature, gruesome finishing move was a rite of passage. The crowd behind you would erupt. It was a shared moment of shock and delight. You weren't just a player anymore, you were a performer, a magician who had unlocked the game's darkest secret. And then there was the journey home. The post-match analysis would begin the second we stepped out of the arcade and back into the drizzle. We would reenact the key moments, debate strategies, and boast about our successes. The game didn't end when the screen went dark. It lived on in our conversations, in our shared memories, and in the phantom aches in our thumbs. This communal aspect was the real magic. We weren't just playing a game. We were building a shared history, one brutal, pixelated fight at a time. It was our club, and the price of admission was a mastery of the teleport punch. So, what made Mortal Kombat so compelling? It wasn't just the digitized graphics, as novel as they were, and it wasn't just the violence, though that was certainly a significant part of its appeal to our teenage sensibilities. There was something deeper at play, something almost mythic. The game, honestly, felt like it had a soul. The lore, hinted at in the brief character bios and the ominous attract mode, suggested a vast, epic struggle between realms. Earth realm, outworld. These were not just words on a screen, they were invitations to a larger universe, a modern mythology built from code and electricity. The game's atmosphere was a key ingredient in this strange brew. The dark, foreboding stages, the pit with its spike-laden floor, the eerie silence of Goro's lair, the ominous courtyard filled with chanting monks, were more than just backdrops. They were characters in their own right. They created a sense of place, a feeling that this tournament was a serious, deadly affair. The sound design, from the thunderclaps to the chilling laughter of Shang Tsung, added layers to this atmosphere. It was really a masterclass in world building, achieved with surprisingly limited technology. It felt less like a game and more like an interactive dark fantasy film. This feeling was amplified by the mystery surrounding its creation. We knew nothing of Ed Boon or John Tobias. To us, the game was a found object, an artifact from another plane of existence that had simply appeared in our local arcade. This lack of information allowed our imaginations to run wild. We filled in the gaps ourselves, creating elaborate backstories for the characters and theories about the tournament's true purpose. Was Goro really undefeated? What was the true nature of Shang Tsung's power? The game didn't give you all the answers, it gave you just enough to make you ask the questions, which is honestly infinitely more powerful. Ultimately, Mortal Kombat felt special because it treated us, its players, with a degree of intelligence. It didn't hold your hand, it expected you to learn, to explore, to discover its secrets for yourself. The hidden characters, the secret fatalities, the cryptic clues, they all contributed to this sense of a living, breathing world that existed beyond the confines of the cabinet. It was a puzzle box as much as it was a fighting game, and solving it together with your friends felt like a genuine accomplishment. It was an experience that was far more than the sum of its violent, pixelated parts. So, today is July 22nd, 2025. The arcades of my youth are mostly gone, replaced by home consoles and online multiplayer lobbies. You can now play a flawless version of Mortal Kombat on a device you carry in your pocket. The moves and fatalities are just a quick internet search away. The mystery in many ways has been solved, yet the legend of that original arcade experience endures. It persists not just because of nostalgia, but because it represented a unique moment in time, a perfect storm of technology, atmosphere, and community that can never be truly replicated. The magic was never just about the game itself. It was about the ritual. It was the physical act of traveling to a specific place, a temple of entertainment. It was the weight of the coin in your hand, the satisfying clunk of the joystick, the shared gasps and cheers of the crowd behind you. It was a communal experience in a way that online gaming, for all its connectivity, can never quite match. You weren't just playing against an anonymous username. You were standing next to your rival, sharing the same air, the same space, the same glowing screen. The mythic atmosphere of Mortal Kombat is what truly cements its legacy. It created a universe that felt vast, ancient, and dangerous. Raiden, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, they've transcended their origins as clusters of pixels. They are modern mythological figures, as recognizable to a generation as any character from ancient folklore. They are icons, born from the humming circuitry of an arcade cabinet. The game's ability to create such a powerful sense of lore and wonder, with such limited tools, is a testament to the creativity of its designers. It was lightning in a bottle, or, more accurately, lightning from a god in a straw hat. That echo in the machine still calls out. It's in the gravelly command to get over here, a phrase that has entered the cultural lexicon. It's in the shiver of recognition when you see that dragon logo. The original Mortal Kombat was more than a game. It was a destination. It was a secret club. It was a shared story that we all got to be a part of for a few precious hours and a handful of coins at a time. And for that reason, in the dimly lit arcade of my memory, it will always, always be legendary. Finish him, it's a game that will never be finished.